Alright, we're back in the front yard for the second part of the August version of the farm tour here in 2020, first year of Vinaka Urban Farm. So behind me is Plant Paradise, or our front yard, and I'll walk you through that. Here in the nearby area we've got some tomatillos growing in this bed. A real abundance of tomatillos. We never use as many as it produces, as you can see by its neglected little offspring dropping down to the ground. We'll harvest those up soon. Interspersed with those is some lettuce and some weeds. I haven't been able to weed quite as much as I would like because of time constraint issues, but it's really not a dire problem here. I just don't like to have any weeds in my bed, so that is what it is. Sunflowers, these are kind of a dwarf sunflower coming in. Even though they're dwarf for sunflowers, they're not really dwarf flowers in the grand scheme of things, so I've learned how big those guys get. Look at the size of these heads. Oh my goodness. Look at this sunflower head right here. That is a monster. Alright, so the sunflowers have just been awesome this year. They're huge here, and if you look over across the garden, there's a whole line of sunflowers right past the gorgeous sun gold tomatoes as well. So those have been really awesome. I like it when I go for a run because as I'm coming in the home stretch and I'm otherwise miserable, I can just see these sunflowers in the distance, and it's like a little ray of hope. So here in our little front yard beds, a lot of them have tomatoes planted in kind of a line or a bunch in the middle, and these are two varieties we're experimenting with. Unfortunately, I don't remember the names of them, but this one is really gorgeous and intriguing. So as long as we haven't tasted them yet because these are really latecomer tomatoes for us, but hopefully it tastes as good as it looks and we can identify them for next year. If anybody knows what variety that is by look, just give me a shout out and let me know. Here are some sun gold tomatoes, same as the orange ones, orange cherry tomatoes in the backyard. Our Romas are going berserk this year. Here's some red bell peppers as well. But the Romas are just going crazy. 3 Roma plants, and we've given away Roma tomatoes to neighbors several times this year, and we're gonna have to do it again. There's no way that we can eat that many Romas. Our big tomatoes are Golden Jubilees. Our favorite large kind of heirloom tomatoes are really coming in now. Got lots of those. I eat them for breakfast a lot of the time with some bacon and eggs, and they're interplanted with lettuce. And I'm experimenting. So these trellises right here, these two and those two, had squash and cucumbers respectively on them. And what I'm trying to do is to use those trellises to grow snow peas and sugar snap peas, like a fall crop of those. And I'm not sure how that'll work out, but I figured as long as the trellises are up, we may as well try and get a little relay crop in, and we'll see how it goes. Got some pepperoncinis here lining the beds. It's a gorgeous kind of Italian pepper. We like them in salads. Jackie's family, my partner's family, is from Sicily, and that's a big pepper where she comes from. These are serranos, really coming into their own right now. Over here we got some jalapenos coming in. Little bush of jalapenos here. And just generally lots of peppers, lots of lettuce. There's always lots of lettuce around here. It's definitely the most popular green at the market. And what else? We've got, got the mail coming. We've got 2 sweet pumpkins coming in. That's super exciting, and they're already turning orange, which is awesome. We got some squash bugs this year that have devastated the part of the squash, this pumpkin plant, but we got a couple of pumpkins out of it, so it's not a complete loss, and it looks beautiful anyway. Here, this bed is partly lettuce, and you can see that I've started to plant my fall and winter crops here. It's August, but I went ahead and transplanted some kale into this bed, and that kale is going to be full-size kale, and I'm going to try and carry it into the winter for as long as it will survive here. So the hope is that it'll be nice and full-size and mature before the weather gets cold, and that way it will be able to give us kale for as far into the fall and winter as it'll survive out here. And I'll do some undercover as well, and we'll compare how those work. Okay, so coming through this path, it's got some exciting developments. We didn't think we were going to get echinacea or coneflower this year because we just planted it this year and we were told that it only comes in the second year, but we got a couple coneflowers and it looks like we got lots more that are going to be coming in soon. So that's super exciting. Got this gorgeous variety of dahlia that overwintered here, which it doesn't normally do in this part of Ohio. But we had such a mild winter that it survived, and it's really thriving this year. It's so gorgeous, and we're actually going to be responsible and dig out those bulbs and divide them so we get even more bulbs next year. At least that's the plan. More echinacea coming in over here. This used to be a giant bed of nigella. We kind of like how it reflects like a season of its own. It's like this is the fall part of the garden while everything else is summer. It's kind of a cool addition to the flower beds. We also love how the red basil or purple basil is looking right now. It's like, I love the way that it grows full, like into a ball or a little bush, and the flowers are also gorgeous. The pollinators really love this plant as well. It's a nice bonus. It's just a great plant. You can eat it. It smells awesome. It looks beautiful. Pollinators, I mean, what's not to love? Got some more kale planted in here. We just this is a kind of a sowing of opportunity here because it used to be some flowers in here, but the flowers didn't do super well. And they died back, and we just had this empty space, so I went ahead and planted more kale in here. We still have bachelor's buttons, which is incredible. They literally came up in February, and then they bloomed in like April or May, and we still got a few straggling blooms. That's awesome. We've got some dahlias we planted this year, and the first one has come up. It's gorgeous. Little line of kale. I just love interspersing flowers and food. I'm very interested in that. I'm gonna really experiment, I think, turn up the dial on that kind of experimentation next year. I think foodscaping is really awesome, really cool for especially urban settings where you want it to be beautiful, but you might want to grow your own food in your front yard too. And this is what I get to see when all hope is lost on my home stretch and my runs. And as you can see, it's pretty awesome. I mean, it's good for a good solid sprint right to the end. Hundreds and hundreds of sunflower blooms. The only negative is they block the morning light from this bed right behind them, but that's part of the learning process too. As you can see, these lettuces down here are pretty small, and I planted them a while ago, so they're just not getting quite enough sun. Such is life. Our mimosa tree is huge. This thing has also exploded this year, and it's going to be great because I actually planted it with the hope that this little spot right here, the little spot by the caladium, which is also looking great this year, is going to have a little bench. And I love the way that the mimosa tree kind of grows over. It's too low right now, but the branches hang over just like I wanted them to. And so if it grows a little taller, that's going to be a great spot to plant a bench and just have, let's see if we can see the view from where the bench will be. Yeah, this will be the view right here. Out over the garden. Sweet. With some Thai chilies in the foreground. Also doing well this year. So, that's pretty much it on the, or at least the front and backyards of the garden. We skipped a couple parts. There's still more plants that I could have shown you, but that's the main parts. Overall, it's been an awesome year, but I can see why so many of the farmers that I follow on YouTube in other places tend to look pretty exhausted by this time of year. It's pretty tiring, and I'm looking forward to a bit of a slowdown in the off season, but it's been great so far. So I hope you enjoyed seeing what was going on around here and connecting with the farm. And I will catch you next time. Maybe I'll see you at the market or in person or just virtually over the interwebs. Either way, signing out for now. Salako. I'm out.